The Who, What, When, and Why of Thomas Paine's Common Sense. Who was Thomas Paine, and who did he address in Common Sense? Thomas Paine was an American founding father and well known throughout the Americas and Great Britain for being an astounding speaker and writer. He was originally born in England and moved to the American colonies in 1774. He was a political theorist and philosopher, mainly based on the common good and individualism of society. During the taxation of the American colonies and unfair acts, Paine was one of the key political leaders during the American Revolution. He is the author of Common Sense, a book that focuses on independence from Great Britain, individualism, rights, and common good. Common Sense was written by Thomas Paine and published on January 10, 1776. The book was based upon why the colonies needed to gain independence from Great Britain and common good and individualism on what colonial America should be like and would come to be. For example, a quote from the book reads, "Society in every state is a blessing, but government, even its best state, is but a necessary evil, in its worst state, an intolerable one." The colonial American people lived within 13 colonies under British rule up until July 4, 1776. The colonial citizens, militia, and the American army were the main audience of Paine's Common Sense. In Common Sense, Paine addressed the colonies on how they were done wrong by the king and British rule and deserved independence from Great Britain. The American colonies would eventually begin their revolt against the crown in the mid-1760s to early 1770s, begin battles with Great Britain, and establish independence in 1776. Great Britain was the reason of the colonies breaking away from the Royal Crown's rule. After the 7 Years' War, Great Britain taxed the colonies hard to pay back the debts and damages of the war. When this began, so did uproar in American colonies. With such happening, Great Britain began to implement acts on the Americas, thus leading to protests, blood, and revolution. When was Common Sense published? Common Sense was published on January 10, 1776. At this time, there was already much turmoil and revolution in the American colonies due to taxation, unfair acts, the Boston Massacre, the Boston Tea Party, and battles and skirmishes with Great Britain. America was on the brink of independence from Great Britain. However, the American colonies needed to win over the rest of the colonial people to guarantee cooperation from the continuing fight against Great Britain. Paine wrote and published Common Sense on January 10, 1776, 6 months before America declared independence from Great Britain on July 4, 1776. Why did Thomas Paine write Common Sense? Common Sense was not just some ordinary political book for colonial America to be advised on the current fight against Great Britain. Common Sense was written by Paine to make the colonial people of America believe that independence from the greatest empire in the world, Great Britain, was possible, and a new America will be for the people and by the people, not government. The book pressed on how mankind is not meant to be ruled, and no one of any power has the right to judge one's liberty. For an example from the book, society in every state is a blessing, but the government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil, in its worst state, an intolerable one. For when we suffer or are exposed to the same miseries by the government, which you might expect in a country without government, our calamity is heightened by the reflecting that we furnish the means by which we suffer. Common sense will always be remembered by America and what America is and will always be built on.